Give me a second. I will.
That's it up now on chat. Love this t-shirt, but look, it has this big hole in the side, and that was caused by gerbils. Let's see. See that? You see that hole?
Give me a second. Hang on a second.
Look at that. Jesus. That was gerbils. Like, I was sat down and they were biting into my shirt. See
There we
this?
go.
See
Oh,
that?
dear God. Oh, dear.
That was two gerbils.
Naughty gerbils. Naughty. The hell did they do that for?
Must have been hungry. Fed. I mean, yeah, it wasn't the fantasy of how girls tearing my clothes off. Naughty gerbils. Still, their journalism is good.
By the way, that's a joke underneath my name, everyone. Last time I checked, I'm not a Buddhist monk. And I'm definitely not a Nazi.
No, well, neither of us are Nazis. No gerbil Nazis either do we have.
Just destroyer of clothing, apparently.
Welcome, a couple of Burks. I suppose it's your homework too. When the stream ends, that is what I would go downstairs to find. So a later start than usual because life shit. And we're gonna just ease our way into it. As you can hear now, Katie is providing the acoustics for taking your meds. Please do take your meds. I have taken mine for today, but there you'll see earlier in the week I forgot to take them. That is not approved behavior. Might get us banned from YouTube. So please take your meds. Take your meds.
You are correct. A couple of perks. Yes. Life shit happens.
Tonight I will be drinking Tesco knockoff fizzy. It's called Fruit Passion Zero. I don't know if that's a reference to sugar or to Tesco's own corporate responsibility. Hello, wake up and smell Rosemary's Rosie. Always a pleasure, never a chore. A couple of perks that I discovered last night that I can't take rum on my next holiday, so I might be popping in that later. Good evening, Jim Speak. Good evening, Mr. E.
Yes, I noticed that on Discord, Jim. I hope you're enjoying the read, whatever it is. A leftist reading is never done because our read list just keeps on growing for reasons. Lots of theory out there.
I still have books from 20 years ago unread. You need to prune that library every so often.
Yeah. Oh, for Christ's sake, I still haven't read Mao, for crying out loud. Blood Meridian. Hello, Mr. E. Welcome in. And hello, Rosemary.
Let's see if
Hi,
we can
everyone.
get some chat up on screen.
Tonight's chat brought to you by cleavage, which there seems to be a lot of. Or boubage, if you wish, as well. I'll be a good girl, even though that he is bored. If anyone can tell what this
Oh,
bottle
what's
is,
that? Oh, the rain's broken here. It's still very hot. So we might have some thunder and lightning on the way.
it's been relatively nice today, I think. Just sunny, not hot. Because people like me are not built for the heat. Really aren't.
I don't think any of us in the UK are. I mean, rain is the natural, isn't it?
Ah, it is currently raining, and it is 13 degrees, which is sensible.
God, Ram, this is a perfectly good T-shirt. You bastards.
Oh dear.
I mean,
Now, what my gran would say to me, said, "You need to learn darning, Katie." And I just kind of look at her. This is my mum's mum, by the way, who is no longer among us. For Christ's sake, she used to darn socks. Sorry, Gran, I loved you desperately, but I ain't learning darning.
so Rosie asked, what are we up to tonight? In about 10 minutes, we are going to slide back into a special two-part Victorian villainy on Ignaz Timothy Trebitsch Lincoln, 20th century adventurer, crook, con man, bit of scumbag, but also kind of funny in a weird sort of way. A full recap will be provided.
It will indeed.
I'm currently drowning under paper again.
I finished up your video earlier on today. The previous, not last week's, the one back in February.
Ah, yes. So we were February. We were to cover this. Katie ends up in hospital, and because it was a bit of an emergency, I just couldn't. She couldn't get to contact me, so I just went ahead and did the whole thing by myself at a mad breakneck speed. So
I was worried for you towards the end. I was worried for you towards the end and there.
I've not watched back on. I do have a nugget for you though, Katie. So you may remember we talked and I was bemoaning Twitch bitch, the habit of Twitch of deleting any kind of stream for after 15 days, which makes most of what you see on Twitch disposable media. But I found out the one Victorian villainy that did not show up on my YouTube is actually buried in your archives. You were dual streaming it. So So what and that's on Lulu Harcourt, the MP pedo, and I think Jabez Balfour, the MP property magnate. So during the week, I will I will send you the link of where that is on your YouTube. You can probably, I would say, retitle it. I'll do up a new thumbnail, the first in the Victorian Villainy series, if you like, and you can add me as an associate creator for that.
Cool.
So,
Nice one. I'll get it.
what do we make of burnt ham? Yeah,
Playwright.
yeah, bit of a Labour Friends of Israel stew, Jenny.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be better than what came before. That's the bottom line, isn't it? At least for a limited period or a limited strain.
Yeah. Well, he seems to be making the good noises, like the getting rid of that £3 cap, taking it back down to £2 for buses. That's good. I like that. Saving £45 taking off the fuel duty for electric, just electric. Everyone, please remember that. And it's saving a grand total of £45 a year. Better than a kick in the teeth.
I'm still a bit behind on the news, but so looking at it as essentially he was parachuted into the PM's position on on the grounds of not being Starmer.
Yes, the bar is basically set down in hell.
Where he had the what we in sales call unique selling point of not being Keir Starmer. That should have been enough to give him some forward motion, propellant leverage. And he's made a few sackings, which I approve of, but also a few I don't. But it wasn't helped by Starmer getting a full round of applause by people that for the last 2 years openly displayed their hatred of him rightfully. Speaker thinking that all the applause was okay.
The cabinet
the last time they applauded was for Zelensky. And he made a point of saying we don't applaud people in this place, but we'll make an exception. So Keir Starmer is a new Zelensky. Yeah.
Oh dear God. Like I say, the bar is set in hell. Right, these policies that he's done this week. Yes, you're good. Yes, we'll see going forward what he does.
Keir Starmer got us stuck. Keir Starmer can go fuck. It's a little ditty I came up with there. Just thank you. I'll accept my Grammy now.
It's right. They were all applauding him. Yes, that's usually frowned upon, and the referee, who is the speaker, usually says none of that. No, not allowed to do that. Not allowed to make any sort of noise. Well, they do, but they don't. They're not meant to. In that round of applause, yeah, that just cringe. Ugh. Which is funny considering that the cabinet, unnamed sources of there saying you have to fucking go, which is basically self-interest with the cabinet members saying you're going to have to fucking go. We're all going to lose our jobs in the next general election. Newsflash, yes, they're all going to lose your jobs in the next general election. Especially some of the people who Burnham's appointed. Some of them survived. My two main ones, they still exist. Fucking Per McFadden and Douglas Alexander. They're still in cabinet.
And Shabana Mahmood, as Rosie points out there.
Yeah, she's still there.
The worst. And Steve Reid is swapped out for Josh Simons. Yeah.
Oh, God.
The Labour Together project. Oh, by the way, everybody here is an anti-Semite.
Are we?
Apparently, we all are.
Are we? Are we all
I was going to get T-shirts printed up for the entire chat, but maybe I should ask Labour Together for the money to do that. I'm sure they'd be willing.
I'm sure they'd pay.
If you all DM me your postal addresses, and I'll see about making
Oh God.
Enos,
Oh,
Rosie writes, Enos got a seat in the Lords for fuck's sake. And yeah, I think for fuck's sake is my reaction to that as well. And yours too, Katie?
yes. Well, don't let the door hit you on the way out, Annas. And I would turn up for the books. I thought Jackie would have been running. She isn't. Does she think she's not going to be there long? Okay, we've just had our elections up here in Scotland, as Rosie will know. So not wanting to rock the boat and just quietly serve out her term, being like, whoever comes in once he's down in the House of Lords, they might actually fire her and bring in a new deputy. We will see. Don't worry, your lass will be covering it. I'm surprised. I thought she'd be a shoo-in this time because it's slim pickings for Labour, Scottish Labour now. I was going through their contingent in Holyrood, and the least worst person on their benches is, oddly enough, Neil Bibby. The rest of them could, like, what I think's going to happen. Michael Mara, who actually wrote the manifesto for the Holyrood elections, I done you as well, didn't I? I can see him flinging his hat in the ring. I can't remember who else might take over. Carol Mockin is also another one, and Michael will know about her because that's one of his list in South Scotland. So there's two names for you to go on: Michael Mara and Carol Mockin. Not sure who else might actually, like Neil Bibby as well. Watch this space, everyone. They're all basically playwrights. I really thought Jackie was going to lose her seat too. Fuck. Thanks, Dumbarton. I'm happy I've got an SNP one. And he's in the cabinet. Well done, Ivan.
So I can figure out how to this. I did research it last week, but I moved on to other stuff. It's this button. Oh.
Hey!
There we go. Visual imagery.
You know,
welcome to Trebitsch Lincoln Part 2.
That is
various guises.
Yeah, this is all one person, by the way. The same, they're all the same person, in as many different guises, and that's not all of them. We will get on to the other ones later.
1906 to 28. Yeah, there's more to come. Do we want to open up our script from earlier, Katie?
Yes, I've got it here on my laptop.
Okay. Right. So we count down. Synchronize.
1,
3, 2. Previously on Victorian Villainy. Teenager Ignaz Trebitsch goes on a pickpocketing spree in his home of Budapest.
As Trebitsch Lincoln, he becomes a missionary in Montreal and takes down 2 outreach programs.
Reverend Lincoln fails his church entrance exams, but is curate at Appledore in Kent.
philanthropist, he travels Europe on a blank check with government endorsement. You know.
As Timothy Lincoln, MP for Darlington, he runs up massive debts and steals from colleagues.
His businesses amalgamating oil ventures across Romania and Hungary collapse spectacularly.
He presents himself for hire as a spy to Britain, then to Germany, and then to Britain again.
In America, he is arrested and escapes in the week his book is published, Revelations of an International Spy.
From prison, he cons the FBI under guise of being a code breaker and escapes, only to be extradited to Britain.
3 years later, he is released from jail and travels to Germany seeking an audience with the former Kaiser.
Trebitsch Lincoln becomes a secretary for the Pt2 governing Germany.
For 5 days until a general strike removes them from power.
And now the conclusion. Well, welcome. Welcome. I'm not quite sure how to unshare this image. So I guess we'll just we'll just talk over it until remove. There we go. That's easy enough.
There we go.
So Trebitsch is hanging about Germany with other members of the Pt2 gang. And meanwhile, something else is happening as to the breakup of the move of Russia to communism 3 years earlier. Hi, Omaha, welcome. So, Katie, do you want to kick off and tell people a little bit about what the White International was?
Okay. So this the White International was set up to restore like the former absolute monarchies in Europe, including the Romanov dynasty in Russia, the Habsburg, Lorraine movement in Austro-Hungary, the Bavarian Restoration as well in southern Germany, and one's the Ottomans in Turkey. They mostly, because of diverging interests, like trying to take over governments using traditionalists and far right, and seeing as this new liberal order was taking hold in the wake of the First World War, trying to set up the monarchies again, but it was too disparate. There was too many different movements trying to vie for supremacy within their own spheres, while still trying to do a joint internationalist, transnational sort of traditionalist monarchist, absolute monarchies. So a lot of it diverged. Like there was the Russian Civil War happening, lots of white immigrant monarchists who got scattered to the four winds essentially, and they were all trying to some of them were trying to restore the Romanovs. Didn't work. The Bolsheviks actually won that, even though a lot of the European monarchies, especially some elements from Britain and France, well, that was a republic, but they had white Russians, the white emigre, essentially. They were named after the White Army, by the way, in Russia, trying to set this stuff up. And with the Pt2 basically going kaput, essentially, that's what Trebitsch was doing. He was trying to work with Bauer and trying to core Austro-Hungarian forces, trying to set this stuff up. So that was fun. We'll get on to it. So they were basically trying to set up the monarchies again. It wasn't going to work. Too many disparate communications were happening either within the monarchist movements in Europe and trying to deal with like what was basically a nascent sort of left-wing push in most of these countries. Yeah, it was. There was lots of different movements happening in a lot of the new democracies happening. Like lots of places were splintering. Like there was anarchy happening in southern and eastern Europe. Fun times for a lot of the people involved. I think that's enough of an overview. I think it was. There was so many different.
So
I kind of
into all this chaos. In Germany wanders the Cap gang, the leaders of the Cap Putsch. And just for a bit of a recap, we have Colonel Max Bauer, who is essentially like one of the lesser known big World War I heroes, sort of second to an actual German war hero, Ludendorff. Freikorps Major von Stefani and Hermann Ehrhardt, both of whom will, and who's this figure beside him? I don't know if we can we move our pictures? This is Pabst. I forget his first name. And Max Bauer was a rabid anti-Semite who famously got on like a house on fire with Trebitsch. Von Stefani, Hermann Ehrhardt, and Waldemar Pabst would all actually become fairly relevant supporters of Hitler through his rise to power, although Bauer actually wanted nothing to do with Hitler. He thought he was a silly little man with ideas above his station. So I can't remember how exactly, but they wandered into, with Trebitsch, the center of the white international plot, and began to make representations to various foreign powers, primarily uniting the Germans under war hero Ludendorff, the Hungarians under I think was it I've got the Hungarians and the Russians under Horthy, Admiral Horthy, and yes, Biskupski must have been the Russian, who was a fairly, I mean, both Horthy, I think Horthy was pretty like close to the head of government in Hungary, and Biskupski was fairly high in Russian economic circles. They, for a few years, this Cap gang, actually for a year, there's an awful lot in the aftermath of the Cap Putsch. They laid low for a couple of months, but in a year after, there was an awful lot of activity of making various representations to various governments in Germany, Hungary, Russia. At one point, Trebitsch linking had arranged a meeting with Mussolini in Italy. There's no record of there's a record of the meeting being set, but no record of it actually happening in Italy, or if it did, what transpired. They would also make representations in France, in Czechoslovakia, and generally and use names like Ludendorff. Through Ludendorff they had a link with the house arrested Kaiser Wilhelm, so they would use that as leverage. Now, I mentioned Admiral Horthy of Hungary and Biskupski of Russia, particularly because those two individuals were all in. So you do have this our little group of Trebitsch people exercising some serious leverage around Europe for which is ultimately an insurmountable kind of task of taking back Russia. But they
Yeah.
managed to conjure up some hassle in the meantime.
Did it?
So I'm just going to bring that picture up again, because there's a couple of individuals. I'm going to leave out a lot of this story, frankly, because I can't remember it, but there's a couple of individuals are kind of quite important. Oh, I mean, meanwhile, at the time, my notes say Trebitsch was wandering around Germany with 4 fake IDs, 2 in the name of Wilhelm Ludwig, issued by the Reich Central Office in Berlin, and a passport from the Hungarian consulate. Oh, he's also got one under the name Karl Lamprecht. And when he attempts to get a meeting with General Biskupski in Budapest, he checks in as Tibor Lehotski. Tibor Lehotski, TL, Trebitsch Lincoln.
Yeah.
So the plan requires the Bolsheviks to unite the white and the red armies against Poland, then clear out the communists. And they've got the support of the Hungarian regent. Bauer and Trebitsch often travel together to pick up these Russian emigres. They plan a trip to Vienna. Again, we've got another nom de plume, Theodore Lakatos for Trebitsch. And he's kind of, this opens a period when he is kind of collecting these pseudonyms like Nothing Ordinary. But Trebitsch is a bit of a tempestuous soul. Like he throws a tantrum because Ludendorff won't turn up to be their group's mascot and to open doors for them. Erhard and Stefani here particularly get more and more aggravated by Trebitsch, to the point where for his friend Max Bauer it becomes noticeable, and he warns Trebitsch what to say around the pair of them. So, I mean, as part of their work, they're going to embassies, they're carrying messages, they're making a lot of representations. And one night, Erhard, this tall, skinny guy in the center, who would later become quite a prominent Nazi, Erhard gives Trebitsch a letter to post across town to von Stefani. And as Trebitsch walks around, he slips back into that old habit of opening other people's mail and having a wee read. And this is to paraphrase the text of that letter, or maybe this is accurate. This is what he finds when he opens this letter. This is a fool. Fetch your things and walk with him as we agreed. Leave the body identifiable, and the remainder shall be placed in your account. So that letter doesn't get delivered.
I wonder why.
Trebitsch makes himself very scarce Then he returns to Bauer's home, waits until the man is asleep, and in. So Bauer and Trebitsch are very close. He knows this well, and he finds all the documents of that the White International have been gathering, and steals them, and goes on the run. It's there that he, I think, disappears to Vienna. Acts into the Czechoslovakian embassy there, and declares that he has these documents, which are reported later in Le Matin, much later actually, because we're still in 1921. These come out much later in Le Matin, French newspaper, which I think talked about the Titanic scandal, the fake, the inflated chairs. But in 1929, they report on this. The headline: "The White International Coup." The Nation reports a Prusso-Bavarian army supported by Russian revolutionary forces is to invade and conquer Austria, join with Hungary, and then with the support of Italy, who would, as a reward, receive Savoy with Nice, Corsica, Malta, Tunis, and Trieste, declare war against the Entente. So Trebitsch meets with the Czechoslovakian government and strikes a deal to sell the stolen papers he's stolen from Bauer and his would-be assassins for thousands and thousands of crowns. And the Czechoslovakian government agree, except for one small wrinkle. Shortly after, they arrest Trebitsch for forgery, for forging these papers that they'd handed him. Now, definitive sources agree that for once Trebitsch was actually genuine. These were the real things. But
no forgeries at all. Yeah.
It couldn't happen to a nicer fella, right?
Yeah.
So he spends a couple of months in jail in Vienna, threatening the Czechoslovakian government for his agreed 50,000 crowns. The papers are signed by General Biskupski and high-ranking members of the Bavarian government, Committee and National Resources, in support of a European uprising. The British government are pestered by various reporters, various embassies for comment on this. They, of course, want nothing to do with Trebitsch, all while an eye on him. And then if you were here last week, you remember what happens when Trebitsch ends up in court. He represents himself. He goes on 2-hour tirades. His family are inevitably dragged in to visit him and run errands on his behalf. All of which is massively annoying to him.
We didn't eat rosemary. Nerd.
So he's in jail for a short term. Hyatt's in Morton. And when he gets out, he sets off to China for a bit of a journey there. Uh, to give me pause for breath and without front loading the start of China on you, Katie, what was your reaction when you were reading about this wide international adventure, or
Right,
anything
I
you
could
want?
see I could see what they were trying to do, but because of the competing interests, like it was basically things were breaking down, things were trying to get changed. They were trying to upend the Treaty of Versailles and the Treaty of Trianon to actually restore the monarchies at times. And so there was competing interests happening in each of these different countries trying to restore their monarchies. It was wild, essentially. So lots of moving parts to this. Like the civil war in Russia was still carried. This was happening. All this was still going on, essentially, and lots of international people were going in. There were so many different types of people who went and fought in the Russian Civil War at this, but there was lots of other people moving around Eastern Europe trying to restore the old monarchies and stuff. I don't know why they were even attempting to do the ones in Eastern Europe and in the Ottoman Empire. They were dead. They were in the countries themselves where there was fighting breaking out all over the countryside, essentially, and people trying to set up like rival organizations to try and either break down the old monarchies and still like what would be seen as a liberal government, essentially, of many different types, either social democrat, trying to set up like sort of different far right movements and traditional monarchies at the same time. It's just what the fuck's going on? Europe was basically trying to break the old order and say, no, monarchy shouldn't exist now. We want democracy. We want to be able to vote for people. But there were still these sort of traditionalists basically trying to hold on to their monarchies because of privilege and centuries of fucking working like this. And a lot of them were, oh, a lot of them were basically so younger forces, like be them either left wing or like traditional liberal democracies, essentially, and far right elements were all either trying to work together to break the old order, and some of them were trying to basically see what was left of their monarchies. We'd went through this a couple of centuries before. Please remember, everyone, this is a constitutional monarchy. We don't live in a democracy here in the UK. And a lot of our quote unquote monarchists here were trying to help the old European monarchies because of alliances, centuries old. And the British government saw the breaking, especially what was happening in Russia, the Bolsheviks basically getting established and stuff like that. And it terrified, it terrified the British government. And lots of them were basically going over to Europe to try and help the old order. I don't know why. We wouldn't have. Right, and the fact that they wanted to, a lot of these movements wanted to see, wanted the Entente, which we were a part of. They were trying to challenge us. Yeah, that's not going to fucking work. Like, we might have been broken by the First World War, but we still had a professional army at that point. Yeah, don't challenge Britain. You won't win. We're stubborn bastards. With still some really good troops.
So I'm going to start or pick up our story somewhere else. Autumn to winter 1922 in China. And there is a man named Mr. Davidson who works for Young Brothers Trading Company. And Davidson is hanging about on the barges in the, I think it's in the city of Chongqing, and he's making various friends with various people there. So there's a rather colourful character who owns a barge there called Harry Steptoe, who actually was a covert MI5 agent.
Oh, good God.
There's also Yang Sen, who is I think the son or the nephew of a warlord. So what you've got in this period in China, you've got you've had a few civil wars, and various regions are sewn up by warlords. If one warlord gets too powerful, there's kind of an agreement to sort of gang up on him and suppress him, and there is some sort of level of feasant, oh, what's the word? Some level of fealty given to the warlord controlling the capital, but every so often a war breaks out. So anyway, Mr. Davidson's hanging about with Harry Steptoe and Yang Sen, and then this fella called Patrick Keeley, Patrick Keelan, who is a very mercurial, fast talking fella who has a bit of a Hungarian accent, bit of German accent, bit Yiddish. It's kind of hard to. But Patrick Keelan claims to be involved in representing China's growing economic power and exploring new trading avenues. So he gets various deals from Davidson and his company, Young Brothers Trading. Various monies are paid, contracts are signed. But Davidson finds that he's very suspicious of this guy. Money's been paid over, nothing has arrived. And he senses as well Patrick Keelan is trying to poison his mindset against British commerce while taking advantage of this trading vacuum. So Davidson talks to Patrick's wealthy backers, and finds that a lot of stories aren't adding up. Even goes to America to talk to a guy called Otto there, who had who'd underwritten some of Patrick Keelan's deals, only to find this Otto was owed £2,000 by this person matching Patrick Keelan's description. So Mr. Davidson then goes to London. He gets his solicitors to talk to Scotland Yard and then the Foreign Office, and they get in touch and interview him. And they're showing him photos of various dodgy people operating in China. And one of them's very similar to Patrick Keelan, and his name is Trebitsch Lincoln. So I'm going to put this section is really tricky for us to talk about, so I'm going to put another image online. So Trebitsch got involved with about 4 major warlords. Was doing all sorts of business in China. So let's see if I can look at those on screen now. So the first is Yang Sen, and I believe it was Yang Sen who had who either frequented barges where Trebitsch was making his initial pitches, and who was probably Trebitsch's first point of call for getting in amongst the various Chinese governments and Chinese warlords. So he was fairly young man, born 1904, so would have been like barely, possibly even still in his teenage years at this point. He was a bit of a Tao master, and he was a young general of the Sichuan clique, who had formed an alliance with this man in the middle, a more powerful warlord named Wu Pei-fu. And between the two of them, they had seized Chongqing, a major city in China. And this person on the end, who our cameras are covering up, is I just bring up because I've forgotten his name. Oh, this is Marshall Chai. So more about Marshall Chai in a moment. But there was a fourth figure, Wu Hongqiang, who was the director of the port of Pukou. Chai's position was, or Wu's position was later, Wu Hongqiang's position was later taken over by I want to say Wu Pei-fu, or well, not Wu Pei-fu, maybe Yang Sen. But essentially, Trebitsch gets in with the pair of them, and offers to represent China internationally. Trebitsch would claim to have spent the next 2 years as an advisor to Wu Pei-fu, who was a very powerful man. But I mean, later Wu Pei-fu issued a statement saying he'd never heard of him. It may have been that Wu Pei-fu knew him under an alias, maybe as Patrick Keelan, maybe as one of the other ones we've heard of or did not. But it is fairly clear that Trebitsch did work with each of these men. So let's see a little bit of a background on Wu Pei-fu. So he was known as a philosopher general, said to own the world's largest diamond. He was immensely powerful, savage ruler, an intense nationalist. He did horrendous things to his enemies, public hangings for strikers. Anybody striking was put to death quite cruelly.
Bloody hell.
It's kind of known as the Jade Marshal. And he was a very sort of able strategist. And then we come to Marshall Chai, who, the figure on the right there, who would actually take over the port of Pukou, which is a very important port in China, which kind of had it was more than just the port itself. It had a bit of an overall control of a number of ports. And it was this port that Marshall Chai was in charge of. throughout this. So Trebitsch wormed his way in through Yangtze introductions to Pt2 and Marshall Chai, to where he was offered to tutor Marshall Chai's children. And I mean, Chai is basically the leader of the Stories Overseas mission, to where you get these Yang Sen and Chai, particularly, and sometimes Wu Pei Fu, would travel to various parts of the world and make representations to increase China's economic, political, and military mission. So this was like raising loans, raising trade, and they traveled to Rome. They tried for visas for Austria, Germany, Hungary. Trebitsch didn't get into Hungary because he was refused entry for something one of many things he did in the past, probably.
Yeah.
But Trebitsch gets this bright idea that his old friend, Colonel Max Bauer, might be interested in this business and would be very good at opening doors for German trade. So Bauer arranges to meet them in Genoa, and he's impressed by this Chinese delegation, and he uses his leverage to get Trebitsch around the ban that Austria has on him entering. They go out to Zurich for a couple of months. Trebitsch remains there. The others go out to Hungary. They pull in right-wing German industrialists, or they pitch to him. Stein, people that Trebitsch and Bauer met when they were organizing the Cap Putsch. They get a sign. They talk to a proto-Nazi called von Schreiber-Richter, and get him to supply a photo of Ludendorff to open doors. Von Schreiber-Richter was killed a week later, standing next to Hitler in the Beer Hall Putsch. They're really opening doors all over the place for China, to the point where they do some deals in Austria with a furniture manufacturer, Knoll, for 25 million US in concessions to exploit minerals, transport operations, and other monopolies. Trebitsch has a new passport in the name of Trautwein, which he is a pseudonym he'll use a bit more often. And then he decides to he's in Zurich, and it's 22nd November 1922. He calls his family up to join him. Do you remember Trebitsch had a family?
Yes. I think he might have forgotten about them.
Yeah, I think so. So
international jets there.
His wife. He has about 5 or 6 sons. I think most of them are fully grown at this point. But most of them are living in the family unit. So they join him in Zurich. A month later, they all set out for China. They settle in the Oriental Hotel in Shanghai, then set out to Nanking the same month, where Mr. H. Trautwein is said to be tutoring General Wu's son. Trebitsch's youngest son, Clifford, is attending the local English language school, Hillcrest. Bauer's talking various stuff to people in Germany, trying to get the Shanghai Special Branch is keeping an eye on Trebitsch and Bauer. London Special Branch is also doing the same, although they're much less interested. Only one family says Omaha. That's a very good point. Not a but one I think that needed to be asked. Trebitsch's two most diligent biographers never make any mention of other children, but with the amount of affairs he had, be seizing.
So that's the eternal question now. We can add two people to this list, Boris Johnson and Trebitsch Lincoln. How many kids? I doubt even Boris knows. Both of them, his own number of his own kids. I would assume that Trebitsch knew how many children he had. I would assume. Kind of, yeah.
And actually, there's a couple of things about his family here. So, in 1924, I guess spring of 1924, February, his son John decides that he's had enough of this, and he's going to get away to Vancouver, and he tries to get a passport for his mother and brother. But because Trebitsch has been hanging about with Harry Steptoe, this secret MI5 debub, Steptoe has been running intelligence back to London. And his revelations about Trebitsch's activities there, combined with Mr. Davidson's reports, brings pressure to bear to make sure John Lincoln's passport is impounded. And then the dad gets involved, and he writes. John has written a letter back to the consulate to try and get his passport released, and they issue another letter back saying, "Oh, there's certain conditions that you need to follow, and yes, we will return your passport if you do such and such." At this point, Trebitsch enters the letter writing contest, and he claims that writing in John's hand, he says, "These conditions are humiliating, and I will never concede, and this is a bloody outrage," and really screws things up for John even further. Around this time, all this good fortune of all these doors that have been opened for China by Bauer and Trebitsch and the various Chinese warlords that they've assembled in alliances, all start to fall apart. Like over about 6 or 7 countries, each kind of loan or economic deal or trade just kind of collapses. I mean, it's clear we can trace the ones in Britain to Trebitsch's involvement. Maybe some of the ones in America, Germany. I mean, I guess it's kind of your guess is as good as mine, but with 2 prominent leaders of the Cap Putsch, one known for being a con man, a swindler, sort of leading these talks. It's entirely possible that closed those economic and trade doors.
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah. So with all his movements that he's been doing recently and over the years, even with a new identity, you can't quite escape your past, unfortunately. And a lot of these, especially with someone reporting back to the British state, essentially, a lot of these avenues would have been basically getting closed down, which wouldn't have been good for China, essentially, back then. Maybe they should have just sidelined him a bit. It might have been better for them.
Right, Rosie.
Hi, Rosie.
So, yeah, these doors are all collapsed, and Trebitsch decides he's going from Shanghai to Batavia, which is in the Dutch East Indies. I wish I had a map to point to. It's way down near the bottom. And of course, the whole family must join him in the little Dutch East Indies adventure. And then after like a few months there, Trebitsch gets bored and leaves him behind in the Dutch East Indies for some time, if I remember. Bauer is also still in China and various other places making representations for the Chinese government, but that's kind of where his story sort of carries on for most of the time. Bauer actually dies about 3 or 4 years after this. And Trebitsch and he only meet once again by accident on a cruise. And it's it's a bit of a sort of a that's kind of no great climax to how their story ends. They just drift apart, and Bauer's worth talking about in terms of the whole Trebitsch thing, because he's basically only for I've got to imagine that Bauer could see through Trebitsch's shit and probably appreciated it for what it was. But Trebitsch would move to Tientsin, to a boarding house there. And I think Tientsin is China or Japan. I'm going to put it in chat.
Tientsin. I think.
Oh yeah, it's a city in China. Although it's also a place in Ceylon, Sri Lanka, where Trebitsch definitely journeyed to. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I thought it frozen there for a moment. So it's about 1925, and he's in his boarding house in Tientsin, and he has what he describes as a profound mystical experience. And there's a quote from his memoirs here. This was October 1925. I made a great renunciation. I quitted the world, he declared, and he embraced theosophy. So theosophy, you've probably heard of Madame Blavatsky, Petrovna Blavatsky, amalgamation of Eastern mysticism for Westerners, concocted by Helena Blavatsky. And this, whatever sort of hi Jerry, pleasure to have you here, whatever happened with Trebitsch's various lobes, he was picked up by a burning desire to visit Tibet, the holy land of mystics and seekers of various stripes. And this was to become a consuming passion until the end of his life. But before he could follow this spiritual obsession, which it would certainly become, a kind of tragedy entered his life. And I kind of would like a cigarette, so I'm going to take a wee break. But the next bit's something I can roll off fairly easily. Is it something you can remember the details of his? So he might have had two sons named John, or the son. He certainly had a. So I don't know if the son who's. I think actually it possibly was. Yes, the son whose passport was impounded did get out and left for England. And joined the army there. Can you remember the tale of his son to tell, Katie?
Oh God. Give me a minute.
Or basically just fill the time so I'm not losing all my words. How did he have time to write his memo? Brilliant.
Yeah, how? Yeah, he had the TARDIS, I guess, so he could go back and catalog everything and write it all down. Maybe.
There's a little image of Trebitsch from his China days. He would return to China for a bit of a length of time. But in 1925, tragedy struck. So his son John, I think his eldest son, quite possibly, besides his eldest, so he had a stepson, but his eldest, born of Margaret. Hold on, I just fix my monitor here. So John joined the British Army. I think possibly Sir Barracks in Somerset. And one night he and another soldier decided to go out on the tear around the pubs and got completely shit-faced and decided to break into the house of a travelling salesman. And the travelling salesman was home. Gunfire was exchanged, and the salesman was shot and killed. So John Lincoln and his co-assailant were put in prison, and were to be, and John Lincoln was, I think, singled out as a gunman and was to be hung. And there was a lot of feeling at the time that, despite the severity of the charge, that John Lincoln had actually proven himself to be, a really good kid. And that he was being punished for who his father was.
Yeah.
There were masses of there was a public petition that went out to reassess whether he be hanged or whether he be given a sentence instead. There were mass protests or peaceful protests in Trafalgar Square to get John Lincoln's to get him a reprieve, or to reassess the case. But the British government were firm John Lincoln would hang. So somewhere across the world, I forget where, and it's probably not even important, Trebitsch hears about this.
Oh, I'm looking at the Wikipedia page for Trebitsch. Apparently he was in Ceylon. Southeast Asia, everyone, to try and get back in time before his son was basically hanged.
And the Brits said, well, actually, you're barred, but if you can get back before the hanging, we'll let you in to visit him. And try as he might, Trebitsch arrived late. He was en route when he got word his eldest son had been killed, which kind of done wonders for his mentality towards the British government. It was already probably as low as it could have been.
Yeah.
So from there, his from about 1925 onwards, there was, for about 5 or 7 years, there was a bit of, shall we say, what's the opposite of clarity, Katie? Muddiness?
Muddiness, obfuscation, just muddy. Yeah.
Certainly untransparency as to what Trebitsch had been up to. So there's various bits coming up. He was bothering the British government and various embassies with letter writing campaigns. He moved about a lot: France, Germany, other parts of Europe. He at one point, so I mentioned he'd shown an interest in Helena Blavatsky's Theosophy movement, and he might enter that and ruffle a few feathers and start a bit of political chaos within the Theosophy organization. But around 1931, 32, I've got another picture I can bring up on this. What if I press by accident? Let's see. Oh, I've added an extra camera. Hold on. I don't want to do that. So he takes up life as a Buddhist monk, residing in a monastery near Nanking, and seems to spend several years there. Hiya, Bank Pete. There's always rumours swirling about that he's been sighted in Nice, in Shanghai, in Tibet, in Afghanistan. Even him, the government in Afghanistan have to issue an official denial regarding his involvement in some uprising there. But in the early 1930s, he becomes a genuine Buddhist monk, rising to the rank of abbot, and adopts this name, the Venerable Chao Kung. And from this point forward, he is, he receives this title of bhikkhu or monk at the Palhua Shan Monastery near Nanking in May 1931. And there's quite a fierce, appears to be quite a fierce preparation procedure. He is said to have endured the painful branding of 12 small stars on his scalp, which represented the dozen spokes of the wheel of becoming. He also embraced a strict vegetarian diet, and ever after only appeared in public in his monk's robes. Um, and this is kind of the final stop in terms of Trebitsch's ever-changing switching of identities. His physical appearance will change a little, but essentially he is this guy you see in this larger photo. Um, just the third figure in from the right in the black cloak. And this is pretty much the way he looked from here, 1931 to his death in 1943. And he will forever go under the guise of Chow Kung. Shortly after he leaves, he's also, actually, this bit's worth mentioning because you did ask me this as a question, Katie. Was he actually a bodhisattva?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you know about bodhisattvas that you can tell somebody who doesn't?
Oh, okay. So, a bodhisattva is basically how to describe it? A deity in the major religions of the East. You know, like Buddhism, the Tao, and a couple of other sects in just below the Himalayas, essentially. So it's essentially they're seen as deities, essentially powerful. They can move heaven and earth like that. So a bodhisattva is basically someone declaring themselves as a deity, essentially. So the major bodhisattvas in the main religions is you've got the Buddha, obviously, and as many different avatars. Kuan Yin, the grandmother of heaven. You've got the Jade Emperors, the Jade Emperor as well. They're the major ones. Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, could be described as a bodhisattva. And you've got Moksha, who is Kuan Yin's disciple, essentially. So that basically the different branches, essentially, and they all cooperate together, essentially.
I'm going
So
to give you a
yeah.
little bit of a different take on bodhisattva. So, not to say your interpretation is one that's not out there of what a bodhisattva is, but having been a Buddhist myself, I'm a post-Buddhist. I encountered the concept of the bodhisattva as another Buddhist, or maybe actually, yes, as now I think about it, could be another Buddhist, another human Buddhist, or another deity. What seemed to be key was that they are a creature who stays behind, who stalls their own path to enlightenment to help others out on
Yeah.
that journey. Um, so, I mean, and Trebitsch would also, for comparison, Trebitsch would also be referred to by some as the Panchen Lama, or maybe the next Panchen Lama, or maybe the next Dalai Lama. So I think those who set the Dalai Lama stakes would probably have a very different take on that.
Yeah.
But essentially, Trebitsch went on to set up his own little monastery and was very good at swindling rich people to give up their money and come and join him, to give up all their and follow him. And he seems to have had, I think, if I recall rightly, some 40 or 50 people in his monastery at one point. But
Wow.
life with Trebitsch Lincoln, or sorry, the abbot Chow Kung, wasn't particularly nice, and people began to fall away. He still had taken up by various schemes, one of which was to raise money for, and this is jetting ahead a few years, was for an ark, a floating, a boat monastery, which would travel around countries in the world, spreading the word of the Buddha. And this was certainly something that he pursued. Spence, who is a writer who emphasizes what we call deep conspiracy theories around Trebitsch, the occult stuff. He claims he went to Marseille with a delegation of Buddhists. He went to Nice, various ports in China. I'm gonna finish this smoke actually, because I have something quite special to share with you, and I'd like to sit down and enjoy it with you. So look for that in about 2 minutes.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, if you remember, we were talking about the way back at the start. We were talking about the London Society for the Promotion of Christianity among the Jews, and their very strict regime of curfew, attending meals at certain times, heavy with the rules. And this was what Trebitsch instituted with his monks and his fraternity. More and more people kind of drifted away from him to the point where he was left with 4 monks and 6 nuns. And you know, I'm just going to try and play this now, actually. So give me a wee minute to set.
This is a fun one.
First time in this, so it's. If I can get it up, take it a moment. If not, I will share my screen. Upload video. Okay, I don't have any uploads. How do I upload? Okay, that'll just take a little minute. Hear me okay?
Yeah. Can hear you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
This, I pressed the button.
Really?
Uploading.
Oh,
try
that's upsetting.
it again.
Please.
Oh, tech fail. I will start at this end. And share my screen if it doesn't. Okay, I will try to share my screen. So, give me a moment again. Oh, right, I'm back. Oh, so one of the places Trebitsch called at with his party of 10 monks and stuff was clip from British Pathé. It is only clip that we have of Trebitsch Lincoln in video, and as far as I am aware, video as well. So I'll just read this. British Paramount News. Oh, sorry, I just checked. See that okay? Yeah. Hello?
No.
Katie?
No, I can't see anything. My mic's still
Nothing on the
live.
screen? No? Oh, that's strange. Tell me. Okay.
That's
We'll
weird.
try again.
Okay.
Oh. Okay. Let's try it again. Oh. Okay. Oh, this would be very disappointing if this doesn't work. Right. I'm going to take both hands to this one. Okay, I think I almost got it. Okay, it's off. Let's try one more time.
Ah! Andilos. Oh dear. Hi everyone. We'll see if Andy can get this fixed. Yay!
Oh, am I back in some form?
Oh. We did have him. Ah! We had you, so you just needed to. We had you, so you just needed to. Okay, that was weird. Okay, that was weird.
Okay. Am I? Hello? You hear me? See me?
Yeah. Hello again.
Yeah?
Yeah. Welcome back. Hello
Okay.
again.
Have you got the screen share up? Can you see it?
Yes. We can see it, yeah. We can
Cool.
see it, yeah.
Okay. So, I'm going to read this out. This is from Pt2. British News, it looks like. Former spy MP turns up. Liverpool. This is 1930 or 33, I forget. Liverpool. Trebitsch Lincoln arrives from Canada. Now a Buddhist abbot, he and 10 disciples come ashore, but whole party will be deported. So let's get this up. Okay.
The XMC started by in the Great War. There is probably no man living about whom so many lies have been written as about myself. My reply to all this is to point to these 10 of my disciples, representing 5 nations, who live in perfect harmony, friendship, and concord with each other. Let no man think or say that I am a troublemaker. I am not. I am a man of peace, of goodwill, carrying the message of the Buddha. Now, the Hungarian border adventurer with Spirit, MP, espionage, destroying his new role of Buddhist knight. But the Home Office says no, and will send back to Canada on the next birth.
I love how that ends. The host says no. I think we've come so far for this. I think we need to watch it again, right?
Yeah.
No man living about whom so many lies have been written as about myself. My reply to all this is to point to these 10 of my disciples, representing 5 nations, who live in perfect harmony, friendship, and concord with each other. Let no man think or say that I am a troublemaker. I am not. I am a man of peace. Of goodwill. Carrying the message of the Buddha. Now the Hungarian border adventurer with Spirit, espionage, and showing his new role of Buddhist knight. But the Home Office says no. And Lincoln will be sent back to Canada on the next birth.
Well, now. Let no man say I am a troublemaker.
Really? Many people would disagree with you there, Trebitsch. Really? You've published books about yourself, for crying out loud. Not a troublemaker, really. Definitely, it's like we have all the citations. We need to prove you wrong. Dear God. I love Omaha's
Hopefully you can
chat there. That is delightful.
There you got 11 Buddhist monks arrive. Trebitsch was put into jail while he was there, he was put in Walton prison while awaiting deportation. While he was there, his son Clifford came to say goodbye to him. Sympathizer gave him 180, which was considerably more in those days. And of his the 4 monks or 6 monks. Anyway, one of the monks who you saw in that footage, a fellow called Martin Stank, who I believe was a German, he decided he had enough and deserted. So he didn't join them back. When he got far enough away, Trebitsch dispatched a verbose, rambling protest telegram at the wholly wanton imprisonment Liverpool, which is provocative insult challenge to China, which sent me and to millions of Buddhists are solidly behind me. My religion is supreme, and I shall rule England as abbot.
Oh my God.
So it was, as I mentioned earlier, it was a fairly severe work order. The monks and the nuns were placed under. They had one meal a day. They worked 16 hours out of 24. On the way home, Trebitsch reputed a bunch of them. Back in China, they recruit fairly rich people. They wrote letters to Peking and Shanghai. Trebitsch sets up the League of Truth, which has as its image a mirror image swastika imposed on two hemispheres for truth, justice, kindness. This is their slogan: for truth, justice, kindness, against lies, injustice, hatred, and in everything. And announced plans for two monthly journals, Nirvana and Aurora. I don't know if these ever came to be. In 1935, 1936, he published a pamphlet called by the same name, The League of Truth, where he wrote an apocalyptic note called, for some of the text here, a coming world will sweep away a mad civilization, suffering and more suffering. The evil is complete government having lost brutality, deception, or they do not see the true causes of it all. The British Foreign Secretary, Lahore, about the vindictive which successive British governments have relentlessly used against me, a single individual, during 20 years. There was a final letter sent mid-1937 to Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain, wishing Britain well, but referring to his diabolical vendetta, forms of open and secret machinations, and to make honourable amends for all wrongs perpetrated against me. My favourite one is comes in 14th of October 1937, where a copy on the track he wrote. I have never seen a better of occupation. Who hold of China, free yourselves from the corruption. Those who hold in subjections nations and races all over, those who have in turn no right to play the role of holy indignation. The new empire will surely bring about more tolerable, peaceful conditions. The British Embassy there forwarded a copy to the British Foreign Office, and there was a single official minute recorded by Mr. A. Scott of the Foreign Office. And that was, I think, the only comment I can make on this is exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. Which I absolutely love. Well, I mentioned the appalling nuns were kept under and ever dwindling numbers. There was one called Ta Hertha Henschel, I guess a German woman, who was placed in solitary confinement, probably for something fairly minor. And it was so bad she committed suicide. The other monks and nuns all went on hunger strike in protest over her ill treatment. I think this was probably the straw that broke the camel's back with them, because one by the one they'd all drift away. And this was in Hirsch's suicide was late spring 1935. So I have 3 years later, only a reference to one nun who was incredibly faithful to him. That was a nun named Margot Marcuse, who went under the name Tao Lao, later Jananda. And as his most faithful nun, she was sent to Budapest with a message of Chao Kung's wish to return to his home. The Hungarian government told her no. And Lao To stayed with Trebitsch's relations in Budapest, but didn't return to China. I guess that's enough about his most faithful and what she had seen. So over the years, he kept writing. He I think it's a book, yeah, in May 1931 called Dawn or Doom of Humanity. And you can find it on Internet Archive. And I've tried reading it, and I wouldn't recommend you bother, because a lot of it's verbose fantasist bull. It's incredibly boring. The thing about reading, so Trebitsch wrote a famous 1915 Revelations of an International Spy. He wrote another biography in 1932, and then there were a few books during his Buddhist phase. Of Humanity, and another one. And it's kind of the way Trebitsch speaks, it's so mental and it's so exaggerated. It's kind of entertaining for a while.
Is it?
And then you just get bored very easily. So if you did want to seek out a Trebitsch book, I would look for the 1932 biography. I forget what it's called. Chance, it's on Internet Archive though. And yeah, well worth a look. So by about 1936, with most of his flock leaving him, Trebitsch has kind of settled down in Shanghai, where he spends a lot of his time alone. He sits on benches in Newport. He befriends a small group of people in and around the pubs. I mean, Shanghai is about to become, and he's still treasuring this dream of going to Tibet. This is kind of his last session. But Shanghai in 1930 becomes a really terrible place with Nazi-Japanese alliance. It becomes a place of absolute bloodbath. On top of all the ice and the poverty and the homelessness, suddenly you've got explosions going off every couple of days. You've got blood in the streets, you get bombings, things. To give an idea, in 1938, Shanghai Municipal Police picked up 100,000 dead bodies, and somehow ordinary life continued. There was crowds of gamblers, Eurasian bar girls, and ankle. And at this point in his kind of Buddhist Shao Kong role, he's out there. He's calling for world peace, immediate resignations of the British, French, German, and Russian governments, calls for new ones to be formed. As if they don't, the supreme masters of Buddhism would look unfavorably, and were not, as a statesman, limited mere mortals. They had unbounded knowledge of nature's secrets and their ability to use special powers. Bring up an
Special
image
powers.
again. So, if I can find it. Oh, here we go. Image. Okay.
Excuse me.
So these are the last. Wait for it. I just underlined some very interesting text. I was going through my notes earlier to talk about his mindset during this period. Oh. Sorry, I'm just having problems bringing an image. Let's see. Here we go. So I'm of this text, but it seems fairly divide with what I've read. Oh, where Katie currently is Trebitsch or Bao Kong in 1935, and the other 1938. And no on the screen shortly, I hope. The later part of Trebitsch Lincoln's life was governed by a severe manic depressive psychosis that produced alternating rhythms of gloom, pessimism, and paranoia on hand, and of super omnipotence, euphoria, gregariousness, and elation on the other. The cycle of expression in periods of monkish withdrawal and despair, followed by manic phases of hyperactivity, pathetic claims, and impulsive political follies to grandeur. The messianic man provides the key to an explanation of Trebitsch Lincoln's life, and in particular of the link between his inner construction of the world and external reality.
What
so, yes, say some stuff, Kate. I need a breath.
Wow, that was a lot. Oh my God. So it sounds like he had severe psychological issues at this point. I feel from don't get me wrong, a lot of this was self-inflicted. He done this to himself. Rejoice, we have a David McGuinness. Hello, Davy.
Hello, David.
So yeah, Hello indeed.
Would you mind if I do oh, there we go. Sorry, my shot was way behind. It still is, apparently.
Oh,
I've seen
okay.
David come up, but I am seeing Linton just appear. Welcome, Linton.
Hello, Linton. Welcome in.
Yeah, I wonder should
Those
I
reports look amazing.
well, there's David. Morning all. Morning indeed. So I guess we'll enter the sort of last big story arc. In occupied Shanghai, and the circles Trebitsch associated with were a number of Nazi officers and Nazi policemen. Oh, right. I'm not sure why that
Yeah.
has opened up numerous images. There we go. They appeared eventually. Yeah. So there you go. Guess which ones on the
Wow.
bottom of your screen are not Trebitsch Lincoln. Yeah, so that's the one up there is 1935, and the one over there is 1938. Where he's looking a bit like Michael Stipe at the end of the video for Aviator Alligator.
Wow. Oh, you can see the markings on his head clearer now.
Yeah.
Why would you do that to yourself? That looks painful, doing that to your scalp.
Do you know what? It might be a good moment for me to take a little break. Yeah. Or yeah, is that cool? Okay, I'll be right back. We have one part of the story left, and it's a humdinger, folk.
It is indeed.
These capables.
Hello, David. Hope you're doing well. And hello, Linton. You're welcome. They do actually look really cool. No problem, Linton. Yes, this last bit is going to be really quite fascinating. She says foreloading what we're going to be talking about next. Just going on the dates of these images or photographs of the man. Guess what's about to happen? A major war is about to kick off. So yeah, this is going to be humdinger.
It's a humdinger. I feel I should prepare myself a little cigarillo to finish this off. But how's everybody in chat doing? Lurking Linton.
Oh no, I go through the same process, Linton, as well, doing emotes. To anyone who is in my Twitch chat, you may notice one of our newly installed Prime Minister. Feel free to use it if you want.
Oh yes, is this one of the Burnham emojis I made for you?
It is indeed. I will get round to the Jackie Bailey one eventually. It's pinned to my taskbar down there. I just need to fiddle with it a bit.
Well, Katie asked me to make a few Andy Burnham emojis, and I sucked and dropped a bit because I have to learn how to make emojis. But actually, it's not really that complicated. It's essentially like making like you would any other image, although it has to be a certain tiny size. So rather than make her one or
Yeah.
two, she asked, I ended up making 8. And 3 of them, because Burnham always seems to be photographed with like his neck really far out, I thought, wouldn't it be amusing to put his neck on the body of a giraffe? So there are 3 Burnham giraffe emojis, possibly on Katie's Twitch. Certainly, if you go to my Patreon, there is a recent unlocked post where you can download the pack of emojis for free. And I would be happy to make Jackie Bailey one or others for you, Katie. I quite enjoyed doing it.
Oh, mine's just pinned down here. I'm not right trying to convert it into a suitable format for Twitches. Right, it's fiddly and stuff like that, but then it goes through the process of getting approved by Twitch. Yeah, so the Burnham one, so we've called this one Burnham Boobs because obviously he's.
Oh yeah, so he's doing the. If you've seen the thick of it, he's doing this with his hands like he's got big jugs. Burnham boobs.
The other one, a Doctor Who villain with Jackie. You know what ones we were talking about. If you feel like doing that, feel free. I'll see if I can fiddle with one of the couple that you've already given me for her. Again, it's going to be fiddly as fuck, but I'm willing to make it work because it will be delightful to have an emote of Jackie Bailey. It's just going to be mad. I will not let you know what villain it is. It's from Doctor Who, so there's plenty of reviews to speculate on what one it is. Mind you, in saying that, I think it's going to be obvious to a lot of Doctor Who fans what one I'm talking about.
So yeah, does anybody mind if I smoke? Speak up now.
Carry on.
Now's your chance. Carry on. Okay.
Carry on.
Trebitsch Lincoln. As I mentioned, there's a few Nazis about that frequent the same watering holes as he does. One is Captain Louis Siefken, who is the I've lost my place. I'm so proud of having found my place, and now I've lost it. Captain Louis Siefken of the what's the Appware, Katie? Can you remember that one?
That's naval intelligence. That's a naval intelligence, by the way.
I have here German secret intelligence, maybe.
There's different directions.
So he's a Shanghai representative. I notice it's also named Bureau Siefken. So I don't know, maybe he's got a special all of his own. Maybe both naval and secret intelligence, or secret naval intelligence. So he's one of the people Trebitsch meets in the pub. Does spend slightly longer on his mark. And Trebitsch has this plan. He's been talking to the chief of the radio station, XGRS, which is between him and Siefken makes a proposal. Oh, my mic's still on? The good mic?
Yeah, I can hear you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just double check that's a good mic, yeah. So yeah, Trebitsch makes this proposal that on behalf of the Nazis, he goes to Tibet and broadcasts Nazi propaganda from Tibet. So the Nazis get him and as part of the lab, and he gets into, which is he's all so. Police attaché Captain Messenger comes to town, and Trebitsch Lincoln secures through Seepkin Lincoln. Chow Kong secures an interview with him. And he tells Captain Messenger the time is ripe for Germany, that he has been authorized by Tibetan masters to take the necessary steps. And he states explicitly that he seeks an audience with the Fuhrer. When Captain Messenger asks him why, what arguments would convince the Fuhrer, Trebitsch replied that when the two of them were alone in a room, the three that would fly appearing out of the wall and reveal the divine truth of the cosmos to the Fuhrer. This would be the best proof of the supernatural at the disposal of the supreme initiates. This incredibly bonkers pitch, showing Hitler three ghosts as a way of being a DJ in Tibet. Or unusually, this actually has some currency.
What?
Now, why do you suppose the Nazis might buy this very fucking weird pitch?
Because a lot of the Nazis in the Reich were occultists. They went in for a lot of Eastern mysticism and how can I say German supremacy beliefs and Norse mixed in for good measure, because Hitler was obsessed. Essentially, he was fascinated. The main proponent was oh god, I can see him. Oh, not Goering. One of the other ones.
They were bad shit on many levels.
They were no. A lot of them were literally occultists.
To give your answer. So the most powerful occultists or personal views in monarchy was Rudolf Hess, who decided he would take a flight to Scotland and I can't recall what Hess's stated, or whether he was just getting the hell out of it, but I think that he was trying to make peace. But whatever happened, what Hess did was regarded as a betrayal.
Yeah. With
Hess out of the Hitler's interest in the occult, but it kind of came, mysticism became an angle that sort of died to some extent with Hess's betrayal. So whereas they kind of might have been up for Trebitsch's mad fucking plan, Hess's betrayal turned totally against it. How by that time Trebitsch's message was already within the Nazi communication machines, particularly a high-ranking officer called Martin Fischer, who urgently telegrammed a Foreign Office in Berlin for instructions. Now, Fischer had a particular annoyance with this Captain Messenger, who had taken over his post. So he sent along the message from Trebitsch, secret cables, and these were also used in the German Foreign Office by Ribbentrop, who was in his own private political war with Heydrich and Himmler. So the week after Hess flies out and with Hitler's astrological connect gone, and he begins to turn against these supernatural doctrines. The week after, Ribbentrop asks Fischer to rebuke Captain Messer for these Trebitsch. These minutes have been taken with this meeting with Trebitsch. The Foreign Office rebukes Heydrich, sets out Ribbentrop's views, and asks Messenger to stick refer to Chow Kung as by birth Hungarian Jew. So there's all sorts of like backs and forths between Heydrich and Himmler and Ribbentrop. Essentially, Chow Kung Trebitsch is being used as this, unbeknownst to him, this political bullet for point scoring amongst the Nazi high command, which I find incredibly funny.
That's mad.
And that's kind of probably in terms of Trebitsch. He a Jewish reporter for, I believe, a Jewish paper in 1942, in the summer of 1942. Spends his last months at the Shanghai YMCA. It's believed he's taken into a prisoner of war camp in Shanghai. And one day in 6th of October 1943, or a few days before it, he falls down ill. He's taken in general for an operation for an intestinal complaint. But 1943. Various members of his family have been abandoned in the Dutch East Indies. He's just left a trail of destruction in his wake. And like in terms of legacy, like everybody who lived during that time from 1900 to say 1940 probably was aware of Trebitsch, like in parts of his story in some form or other. He was like his story is a very spectacular one for all the ill that he did. Oh shit, wow. Okay, David McGuinness, I met Hess in 1986 in his prison in Berlin. Wow. For how spectacular his story is, and the very strong possibility that the first time you've heard it has been streaming. It's how you would think any other historical figure with such flamboyant, such grand adventure would be a film, a Hollywood film, or a TV miniseries, or even a radio miniseries. But Trebitsch Lincoln has vanished without a trace. I mean, it might be that his story is so spectacular, it kind of defies belief. When his biographer Wasserstein was actually researching this story, he comments on in his introduction on how he refused to believe it, how he cast it off as a historian, and serious historians didn't follow people like Trebitsch. Lincoln, they were probably made up anyway, but how he felt compelled to follow the investigative trail to see who this creature was, and yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
Surprisingly something hasn't been done to either like a mini series or a film even. How would you cram all that into a film? That might be a bit tricky.
well, if you asked, I had
Unless you
several
Lord of the
million
Rings it
dollars.
and
I do have a screenplay here,
you've got a screenplay.
and parts of it I am using. I tell you, is extremely tight, extremely tight. And the problem with Trebitsch's story is, and writing it for a screenplay, is you have to leave a lot of stuff out, and you can only afford to keep the most interesting bits. But then it becomes like just one high after another, and um, it becomes very unbelievable. If you look at, if you look at Trebitsch's story, it does sort of, after the initial warlord phase of the China stuff, it does begin to quieten down considerably until you get the monks thing, you get the Nazis thing. But if you think of the nearest comparison I've made again and again is Forrest Gump. You look at how
Yeah.
that movie works, touches upon every major historical event during the character's life. It is all kind of sort of low key, and the big history moments, like I think, does he shake JFK's hand at one point or something like that?
Yeah.
They're kind of played off for laughs, and they're like one scene moments as well. They're like, they're done and dusted in a couple of minutes. With Trebitsch, you couldn't really do that. You would have to spend a minimum of 15, 20 minutes on the cat putsch. You would have to. I think it would work really well as a radio or television series.
It probably would, yeah.
The
Like
biographer. Sorry, you talk. You talk, not me talk.
I was going to say, so you could maybe do it over a serialization, essentially, like a mini series, 6 episodes, so you could concentrate to the major plot points in his life.
Yeah, I think 6 episodes would probably be a good one. It would really depend on how much money the production company was going to invest. So you could pad it out to 10 or 20, and you wouldn't actually need to put a lot of padding in. It would just enable you to go into more detail on various bits. Probably not 20. 10 would probably be doing it.
Yeah.
The key biographer, the biography of Trebitsch, it's still in print. Bernard Wasserstein's excellent Secret Lives. Wasserstein's, as far as I know, he's still alive, but he has an estate that handles his business. He has lawyers, and they are a bit proactive. When I was writing an adaptation about this on Patreon, they got in touch with me a number of times to try and ward me off, making all sorts of accusations of plagiarism, and despite me telling them, I've got 40 other sources. Yes, this might be one of my primary ones, but they were insistent. Wasserstein did the research. it's Wasserstein's property, but actually no, because he's a real person. It's in the political realm. Here's the 1961 book, The Self-Made Villain by Lamp and Cezanne, which is out of print. I have a copy. Katie, you've seen my notes. I have about 40 internet links. You can now. When I was writing this, there was nothing on YouTube. Now there's at least 10 other videos, and some of them are quite well made. Some AI slop, but some good stuff. I mean, I did write a 48-page treatment for a graphic novel, 48-page script, but it was much more compact and I was happy with. I will be taking this to a pitch meeting in a couple of weeks and be trying for something in the 200-page area. So
Ooh,
we'll see.
cool.
I don't have a publisher involved at the moment, but I will be around this with a number of graphic artists, and it's one of only a few projects. Obviously, 200 pages for one artist is a commitment, a serious commitment. But,
Yeah.
you know, I've also thought we've broken each of these broadcasts into 6 various chapters in his life. So maybe you could have different artists draw each 10 or 12 chapters, each one off. So, yeah.
That might, yeah. How litigious are they, State?
So I spoke with somebody else who was writing an adaptation of Trebitsch's story, and they said that they also had warning letters sent from his lawyers. I sent them a very thorough email back to one of their legal letters, and heard no more from them. Then after a while, so my Patreon, patreon.com/Andy Luke, had I got a letter through there from somebody saying, do you have a copy of and it was, I think it was a copy of one of Trebitsch's books. And I said, I do, yes. He said, I would like to join your Patreon, just for 1 month, but I will subscribe to £50 tier. I'll give you £50 for a copy. And why did not do that? I can give you an e-copy, but I can't make it part of the, and I've been paying too, but I can't make it a condition. You know, John, I'll tell you where I found it. I'll email you the ebook. And I did that, and they joined my Patreon, and I got an extra £50 that month. A couple of years later, actually about 4 or 5 years later, I was searching my emails, and I found a reply from Wasserstein's estate, replying that I just had not seen, making more of the same sort of orders. I can't remember if they were specifically complaining about, if they had specifically addressed the issues I had addressed as to my sources, my own research trail. So it may be that the threat of legal action might ward production companies off, but when you get somebody as big as the BBC or HBO, you know, they're gonna work it out. And as I said, you know, Wasserstein is a fantastic primary source, but he's not the only source. And you can piece together the Trebitsch story. I mean, it's on Wikipedia. So we did really well. We didn't start till 11, and we polished that off in 2 hours. Yeah. Any more questions, Katie or Chad? Oh, Are you talking there, Katie? I think your mic might have died. Yep. Oh, there. I think we hear you again. Test.
Yay.
Where you're back? Yep. Might be a last little spurt before the battery dies, but hey, we'll be good on it. You're streaming this week. Nope, sound dead again. Do you have your backup or the USB one?
Am I back?
You're back. Yep. Okay.
Hey.
Plug some stuff really quickly just in case it cuts out again.
Yes, I will. I won't be streaming. Well, technically, it's Sunday now.
Oh no, Kate, we lost Katie again. If you have your USB mic, plug it in. See if that will work. I can't remember if I have anything on YouTube in the morning. I will have on Patreon for subscribers £1 and anything else you want to give. I will have my collection of photos and film with an inspiring comedy on my visit to Warsaw. That's about 20 minutes long. That goes out to Patreon tomorrow, and it goes out on YouTube on Wednesday. I'm also running on Patreon on Wednesday for the next 2 weeks, the concluding chapters to my new novel, Half-Baked Alaska, Summer's Leaves, which is just a mad tale about a giant metallic fish making its way from Russia to Alaska in 1958. And there's a captain who's obsessed with capturing it. And he's married to a Soviet deep cover op spy. And they have a dog called Ivan who hates his wife. And there's a whole Tom and Jerry thing between them. And yeah. So there's a whole espionage, high seas, adventure, drama, mystery, bit of sci-fi, fantasy edge to it. High drama, comedy. Your mic's still not back on, Katie. If you want to try here on Restream, click a little mic icon at the bottom of Restream. You can check your new USB mic, because it might still be on the old one.
Oi, oi.
We're back.
Rejoice, your lass is back. Hello, everyone.
So sorry,
you were saying about because I'm a numpty.
You were saying about your plans for streaming, maybe taking some time off this week.
Yes, not going to be streaming later today, Sunday. So no, I'm going to actually do some self-care because I've been a bit busy with health issues. My right knee is still fucking huge, and walking is interesting, to say the least. And I need to disconnect for a day.
Self-help
Maybe
is
queue
good
up.
health.
Yes, it is indeed. Self-care is good care. One of my sign-offs.
I notice you haven't. Usually you like to interrupt the stream with by depressing us all by telling us who's on the Laura Koonsberg show.
It's silly season. The Parliament.
Let's end the stream on a downer.
I'm not entirely sure if she's on, actually. Give me a minute. I will go to.
Oh, that would be an upper. Let's give us an upper.
Where are we? London?
It was Laura Koonsberg's show is H. Trotwin, Thomas Lawrence, Ignaz Timothy, Patrick Keelan, Hermann Ruhr, a German engineer who Trebitsch also claimed to be.
Rejoice! No award-winning journalisms.
We end on a high. No Laura Kunsberg tomorrow. Great.
Because they've already risen, so he got Burnham got installed on Monday, nearly a week ago, and they basically shut shop on the Tuesday. So that they're now on holiday. They're on recess. They will not be back until September-ish. They're gone for all of August, at least.
Did award-winning journalism lose a connection to the Commons? Did they lose a connection to the politicians?
Yeah.
They don't like that show. Yeah. Suck it up, Jermina Kyle.
We're safe. Yeah. So there's probably Burnham will probably be out and about and announcing policies and stuff, then probably going on holiday with his wife and his kids. I don't know. So yeah, there won't be much happening. This is what is known as silly season.
We talked about doing an after chat in Katie's Discord. I noticed there's an after chat happening in another mutual. But if you would like to join us in Katie's Discord, just pop into the chat and we'll be with you shortly after. We'll keep an eye on that wherever we are. Well, I will anyway. I can't speak for Katie.
I'll be there.
I expect she probably needs to go to the loo or stretch some legs or that.
Yes.
And are we back again next week? Probably.
Yes. We will discuss what we want to do.
No plans. Yeah, no plans as of yet. Just my thoughts off the top of my head. We bring in a guest or two, or we just freestyle about the week behind us. I definitely I'm preparing for this festival, which is the weekend after, which I'm organizing. So it's a lot of work. So I don't want to do anything too scripted. Certainly no Victoria, but yeah, I'm up here.
Cool. Yeah.
Yes.
We can. It has been amazing, everyone. We will be back next week, unscripted essentially. We'll talk. Me and Andy will talk, and we'll see if we can maybe do something a little bit lighter. Interview. I'd love to interview Andy Burnham on my high. I really would. So, what about devolved powers, Andy?
Like
I'm not holding my breath.
Okay. This is an awful lot of weight to put on Omaha, but if you want to try and contact his office, we'd be willing to have him. I'd be willing to have him on the stream, and you can rest assured we'd ask the sort of questions you might expect from us. There might be slightly more swearing for that, but free to get in touch. Yeah, I know you're not going to, or are you?
I've lost my. Oh, yeah, I'll get it there. I was looking for my dual plug because it comes with two cables to charge these two. Damn, dropped it. So
I literally said I'm
there's a
going
plug.
to stream, and I got a message on my screen telling me my muted. Restream doesn't want us to go. Shall we end and see if we can actually end?
We shall end.
This week. Yes. Good night, everybody.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us.
Night,
We see you in
everyone.
after tonight.
Catch us later. Bye.
Bye. It never. I was. We're always on it afterwards. And now.